said something, but I couldn't hear it when he disappeared.
Oh, that was lovely.
All right, so we're just going to wait for a while as people funnel in. If you guys are joining us right now, then if you have any questions you already know that you would like to pose to our fantastic DMs here, you can post the question in the chat using the word question in all caps at the beginning. That way we can easily find it. Otherwise, it might get buried in chat as we continue. But we're just going to wait a little bit longer.
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we're just going to have casual conversation. And what does that look like? What does casual conversation look like?
That's my first question to these lovely DMs. Yeah.
I like how the people who have chosen backgrounds have chosen like very epic things. Ours is like very epic. Thor's is very epic. And then Jayden has decided, I own a home in America. That itself is an epic.
Isn't that why people try to be adventurers to one day own property?
Yes.
If you only saw what our room actually looked like.
It's nothing. It's just an abyss. That's all that's back there.
Normally, I have a very calming library.
They're going to be snoring in the background. Yeah.
It's my blink dog.
Oh. Yes, our dog is sleeping and kicking and probably going to snore, but not loud enough, we hope.
Guys, you can't talk about pets on the stream and not show the pets. I mean, there is
against
good point.
tax, you know.
The camera is attached to the computer, and I am not going to lift my entire monitor up into
That's why everyone has to stay.
That's when you pick up the dog.
Yes.
When he's sleeping.
He's sleeping.
Technicality.
Technicality.
I think by now he knows like the words for when we're saying goodbye on a stream, and then he always seems to wake up.
I almost guarantee my cat will come by at some point as well.
Yay.
Yeah.
So in just a second, we're going to have a really fun video playing, or I guess in just about 30 seconds-ish. So be ready for that, and then we'll kick off the event.
And remember, if you have questions, put the word question in all caps at the beginning of your question so that we can find it later on. Yeah.
Kind of like pretend you're Ace Attorney, just question.
Objection.
Objection.
Also, by the way, that's a fun like session to have as a legal experience. I suggest please using it. You can even use health points for that to make sure that they hit hard enough. Enjoy. You're welcome.
All right. Well, we'll get that video started. Be right back. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining. I'm Travis Vengroff.
I'm Kaitlin Statz.
We are the founders of Fool and Scholar Productions, the creators of the Dark Dice podcast. We've been DMs at D&D Castle 2 times. We're going to be back 2 more times this November. Yep. And we're currently working on, what are we working on? What did I say?
We're working on our next big story for Dark Dice, but the most important thing as of right now is that we are here to host your D&D in a Castle AMA. And we have some amazing talent with us today, talent that are going to be at some of the tables in upcoming D&D in the Castle rounds.
And speaking of, the next castle is going to be July 8th through 12th. There are only 9 tickets remaining for that event, and you can head over to dndinacastle.com. That's dndinacastle.com. Sorry, there you go. To register before it sells out.
There you go.
Let's start to introduce some people. So if you wouldn't all mind explaining who you are, what you're about, and the exciting things, we will start with Thor.
Yeah, start with Thor.
Sure. Hi, my name is Thor Knai. I have been to D&D Castle a couple times before. I'm back in July, of course. I'm there, I think, because I played D&D with some cool people in Hollywood. So I'm cool by association is my standard line, which includes, I guess, Joe Manganiello, Vince Vaughn, Tom Morello, Craig Mazin, who wrote Last of Us and Chernobyl, of course, which is relevant right now. Other than that, I am an actor and I do some game design. In fact, today we're waiting for the prototype of my new big D&D related game. So it'll be very exciting. Might get my hands on my own creation this evening.
We will create the postage gods for you and your speed.
Thank you.
Jumping over to the other side, then let's go ahead and introduce Aoife.
Hello, I'm Aoife Wilson. I primarily hail from a video game background. I am 1/3 of the team at over on Eurogamer's YouTube channel. I just do a bunch of hosting elsewhere. I do a lot of work with the BBC. Just a few days ago, I was hosting the red carpet for the BAFTA Game Awards. Just doing a lot of little bits and pieces there. But yeah, I am also a DM. I have worked with Wizards of the Coast a few times to create bespoke campaigns for them. And this is my first time doing D&D in a castle. So I am very, very excited. Can't wait.
Oh, lovely.
All right.
Next up, we have Beth, the Bard, front and center.
Oh no. Hi, I'm Beth the Bard. I do stuff. I'm a professional game master to like hundreds of teenagers. That is my thing. I also GM for adults once in a while. I always forget what I do when I'm put on the spot like this, like every time. I wrote She is the Ancient, a gender-bent Curse of Strahd guidebook, and my partner Jayden King and I just overfunded our Daughter of Frankenstein TTRPG project on Kickstarter. And I'm pretty sure that's what I do. This will be my second time at the castle, and I'm super, super excited. Yeah, somebody else.
Push away responsibility. Next up is Jayden King.
Oh, hi. Well, if you didn't know me, hopefully now you do. Just in case, it's Jayden King. I'm on all social media. It's Jayden King. I'm a professional storyteller and industry coach in game design for narrative and mechanics, working in things like D&D and other developments, as well as a professional improvisational actor and coach to help people expand their role playing and include diversity for BIPOC, particularly if people didn't know, because I'm Black and I really want to make sure that representation is spread across that. I focus on doing modernization and urbanization of D&D experiences. So I take all your favorite modules, adventures, and I make them modern and urban to get that big city life, even when Strahd is gunning you down. That's my experience, and that's will be my first time actually running at the castle. So I think it'll be pretty awesome because I'm excited for what I'm bringing, something unique, the anime style of D&D.
Ooh.
Man, it's practiced.
So fun.
Love the
Nice.
idea of taking everything that people love about D&D and bringing it into a modern age as well. All right, and then our last DM here is nerd archist Ted Adams. Ted.
Hey everybody, I'm Nerd Archist Ted from Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. It's going to be my third time at D&D in a castle, so super excited to come back and enjoy, my style of game with the lovely folks that are going to be joining us. Nerdarchy is primarily a YouTube channel and a website. If you just search Nerdarchy, you will absolutely find us. We have our own project that's in the works that kind of steps away from the D&D space, even though we absolutely adore and love playing D&D. We are working on a tabletop role-playing game called Zoo Mafia. It's all about being zoo animals going wild, doing crime, and not letting the humans catch you.
It's lovely.
That sounds so entertaining.
So
All right,
fun.
so we're very lucky that we have amazing people who enjoy the same kind of games that we do coming into our chat, and we have our first chat question. And it's kind of going to be a two-parter because some of it will apply to people who have already been to the castle, and then some of it I will make up for people who haven't been to the castle yet. So question.
Wait, before we ask the question,
Yes.
we'd just like to remind you all, if you do have questions, please post them in the live stream chat. They're here for you, and we're here for you. Also, we would love to repeat the announcement that you can find out more about the next D&D in a Castle dates and where to go and register at dndinacastle.com. And now we'll begin with question number 1.
All right. So question was, what was your most memorable / shocking moment that happened in a campaign you ran at the castle? And if you haven't been to the castle yet and you haven't run a campaign yet, let's talk about what you're most looking forward to about running a campaign in the castle. But to put no one in particular on the spot, I'm going to start with, no, I lied. It's you.
What? Oh my gosh. Well,
go ahead and tell us what was one of your most memorable, shocking ones.
Our most memorable and shocking moment, one of them at D&D in the Castle, we had like our big bad reveal. This monster is just terrible and terrifying. It's like challenge rating. It's like a reskin of Tiamat with like Demogorgon and stuff put in, because we're still trying to figure out how to make monsters that are that powerful. And our level 5 players are like, let's fight that. And they did. And they won. I don't know.
They didn't win, but
they won
it was
long
great.
enough to let the thing they wanted to have happen, and it was totally unexpected. And that was just mind blowing for me that they could accomplish this, and they moved the rules in their favor. It was lovely.
All right, so hopefully his story gave you guys a bit of time to think. Does anybody have one that they would like to notice, or I will start picking people out?
We've got Ted and Beth.
So my first time at D&D in a castle was 2019, and we had the pleasure of being the Nerdarchy Castle. So there was myself, my business partner, Nerdarchist Dave, as well as our person who was running the website at that point in time was Nerditor Doug. So we had 3 separate tables that we all collectively wrote this castle that we had kind of inspired based on the location that we were going to. So all the adventuring parties were centered on this location, and we all had this intertwined story that we were telling. And we didn't know exactly what we wanted to do until we got to the final session, which all happened to pair up. All 3 of us were running the finale during the same time slot. So we decided that we were going to do something that was utterly absurd, and we collected all 17 players into one room. And the final session was an epic combat run, 17 years, 3 GMs, each of us running a different aspect of the battle. It's not something that we will ever do again, but it was utterly amazing to just, have this experience of an elder brain, some, monsters, some dominated players, some turncoat players, all of this going on. It was a 2.5 hour, combat. So yeah, there was definitely some slow spots for some players, but it was just absolutely amazing to see all of this just kind of being puppeteered and engineered into place to have something like this. And you can't do that, anywhere but D&D in a castle.
That's amazing.
Thank you. That sounds epic.
Yeah.
I think Beth had one as well.
Yes, I did. So my most memorable moment at the castle was for sure, and I've told this story probably 1,000 times. So if any of my people are watching, I'm sorry you have to hear it again, but I don't care because it's the greatest. One of our players, their character had this really epic, sweet backstory where they had done this terrible thing, but they didn't have all the memories of it, right? Because they were like a shifter kind of person, and it was during their initial transformation, right? So they had all this character trauma that they were trying to contend with, and we set up this scene right in the middle of the woods with this. I use the bear from Annihilation, where rather than sounding like a bear, it sounds like somebody screaming, right? So he goes up to this cabin, the whole party is going up to this cabin in the woods, and they hear this person screaming, and he's like, oh my gosh, no, that's from my memories. That's the guy that I killed, and everybody's like, do we run in and fight? What's happening? They go and they see this terrifying bear. And every time it opens its mouth, it's just screaming in agony, please don't kill me, don't hurt me. And and so everyone's like, okay, that's his thing. We're gonna back off. And I was waiting to see if they were gonna fight it, what was gonna happen. And this guy, this character just drops all of his weapons and moves forward and has this touching moment of reaching out and hugging the bear and apologizing for what he did to this person. And everyone was there were no dry eyes at the table, which is always, your favorite thing as a DM. You're yes, they're crying, trauma, thank you. And the bear disappeared, and he had like this necklace thing to carry around with him as like a reminder. Anyways, it was beautiful. It was my favorite thing. Obviously, there were lots of like really cool moments like that, but that one made me cry as a DM, and I try to avoid that really hard. So definitely real cool, real sweet.
Lots of heart-wrenching moments at tables so far that I've experienced as well. It's just, I think one of the parts of being in the castle is it's such an amazing experience to have that many people around who are so totally invested in what you're creating. Okay, another one. Let's see.
Do we have anyone else wanted to share something?
Talk about things that they experienced at the castle so far.
Okay, we've got our nervous.
Mine are spoiler heavy, so I'll just say as far as. Because I kind of I've been there twice. I ran the same campaign because it has to be this very specific 24 hours of gaming format. But without telling everyone what the story was, it was it's always fun for me as a DM, and this happened both times at D&D Castle where the players get some initial information that they don't really know what it's for, or it's some little thing, and then just a light go off. Like a day and a half later or whatever it is, when they realize what that means for themselves and their character and the story that they're in. That to me is always really fun. So that's probably my favorite part of D&D Castle. You get to run this full campaign, and so it has a beginning and an end, and everyone's like, oh shit. Sorry, word, but still, So that's fun. That's my favorite part.
It is rather amazing to get to run through an entire campaign without having to schedule everything and when's the next time? Oh, it's just tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll see you in 4 hours.
Just a few hours of sleep, and then we'll be right back at it. Yes, not having to spend okay, when's the next time everybody's schedules lines up? A month from now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's still primo in the world of D&D. Jayden, did you have any story you'd like to share from your time at the castle?
Oh, since this will be my first time doing the castle,
yeah.
I would love to tell a story about the time that I took over the castle and earned my crown to become king of the castle. That obviously wasn't the story. What was the alternative question? The
alternative question is, what are you looking forward to most as a DM about playing in the castle?
Honestly, you already said it. First off, the fact that I don't have to wait 30 days for the next session, that I can get through a full campaign and not have to be like, all right, when can we next meet? But I look forward to being able to do the in-person grand experience. Personally speaking, as a person who used to do film and theater all the time, and now I get to be in a castle and all the gravitas that I'll ever need, and my ego can fill a castle 6 times over, I plan to bring my most intense acting persona possible for the most immersive experience. I have been practicing every accent, every dialect. I have been double checking all of my creatures' mechanics. I have been integrating and studying the player's handbook so in depth that there is not a detail I won't know, to make sure that my players know that I will know them inside and out, to give them the most emotional, dramatic, and anime style experience you could experience. It would make Naruto blush at the epicness I plan to deliver. And if they're ready for the isekai style of it, prepare for a portal fantasy like you've never imagined. Thank you, Studio Ghibli.
Wow.
There will be 300 episodes crammed into those 24 hours. Yeah. Just saying, yeah.
Yes, it'll be inverse anime, where instead of taking 3 episodes to do one yell, I'll be doing it all the yelling and stuff in just 3 episodes.
That sounds fantastic.
And Aoife,
how do I possibly follow that? That's ridiculous. Come on now. No, as it's my first time, and listening to all those stories, it is making me so excited, because I love, my favorite thing that I'm looking forward to is that I can't predict what's going to happen. All of those epic moments that arise from just the pure spontaneity of it, the fact that you're there for a full 24 hours of gaming, the fact that everyone is fully invested in having this incredible experience, and that we're doing it in such fantastic surroundings. I just love those collaborative moments that come out of absolutely nowhere. And yeah, I just can't wait to see what, the next time we do this, what stories I'm going to have to add to the stories that everyone just had just then.
I think you will end up with epic epic stories,
I
just
think
like
it'd
every other DM who has graced a table at D&D in a castle.
There's
Um,
just a
Aaron?
really special energy. That is true.
I bet.
It really
That
is.
is, I think, all of our favorite parts, but we're picking specifics.
So we realized that we also missed a very important question on just what is D&D in a castle. For those who are unaware, D&D in a castle is playing D&D in a castle for like, it's not 24 straight hours.
Explain that.
It's 24 hours over a couple days,
Yeah.
and it's you play a campaign with an amazing DM and some really amazing players, and it's at a castle that's great. The food's lovely, and they've got a nice variety of tea. I don't know. I'll stop rambling.
If you're
and let you guys-
enthused about D&D and enthused about tabletop role-playing games,
or if you've never played before,
or if you've never played before but are intensely interested, then this is a great way of kind of reaching a peak version of playing, because you get to play, like we said, for 24 hours over a short session of time. Everything's planned out so that you don't have to go through the logistics of playing, and you get to choose some fantastic DMs, as you can see them here below, and some that are not here. Every single round has a different lineup of DMs who either have or have not been at the castle before. So there's already so many things to look forward to. But we are getting so many great questions, so I'm going to do some really quickly. Okay, first, is the castle known to be haunted? Yes.
It
Yes.
better be. Yeah.
For those who
least
have
two
been,
separate ghosts.
have you had any of the experience of the haunting?
Of course. We had a full-on ghost hunting podcast sort of takeover. One of the DMs had like some sort of ghost hunting experience or whatever it was. So they ended up doing a whole sort of raid through the castle with their like tools and getting all kinds of readings and stuff that you do when you're ghost hunting. No, it's cool. There is definitely some haunting stories there. I think everyone's been there, has heard them all, or at least a few of them.
I think her name is Lily of Lumley.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
nods.
I'm seeing
Okay.
nods. Okay, good. I'm not wrong. Yay. And is there any explanation for why the dice rolls always seem to result in ones while playing in the castle?
Is that true?
I would say
Oh,
there are times where they get 20s when they shouldn't.
no.
And like we said, they had a fight with a Tiamat-like thing, and they decided they were going to go for it. But has anybody else had some rolls that they were not expecting, as is the way of D&D,
This is the way.
that kind of pivoted their game? And would they account that towards the influence of Lily?
Beth.
I don't remember the situation at my table. I just remember somebody rolled like we had them roll 3 dice because they had like I don't even remember the moment because it was so shocking. They rolled 3 dice and they were all nat ones. And we were like, what are the odds of that? So I don't know, maybe there's something to it.
Possibly ghost
Is that
magic.
1 in 8,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great thing about D20s is we can still do the math.
Oh, yeah.
I know that somebody, when we were there last time, was getting so many ones at their table that something that was supposed to be easy nearly killed everybody. And then all the 20s ended up at our table, and something that was supposed to kill them all was easier for them than it should have been. Maybe luck just transfers.
Transference, equivalent exchange.
You got to
All right.
just make your sacrifice to the castle ghost. And if you didn't, then you roll once. So you'll
Yeah.
clue in sort of soon enough. As soon as you get there and the ghost starts pairing or whatever, you'll have to do your proper due diligence or suffer the consequences.
Now-
Agreed.
We have
I
a
might
general
also-
DM question for you guys.
Let's pivot to a serious DM question.
A very serious one.
How do you handle expectations at your table when you have 2 players or more than 2 players who have radically different play styles or play preferences? Should I put somebody on the spot?
I think it's
I'll
all-
chime in
it's
if nobody else is.
I heard Beth.
Yeah, so the whole being a pro DM to like hundreds of teenagers like age 13 to 18 just gave me epic classroom management skills, and I pull all of them in when working with adults too. You just have to like it. I actually genuinely I raised my hand because I was like, oh, I know how to do this, but I don't know how I do this. It's intuitive at this point. I'm like, oh yeah, well, you kind of have to kind of like cater to this person, work with them, make them feel good about themselves, but like do the same over here, and then make sure to like just keep things really peaceful and communication great, and also, you know, setting expectations ahead of time with your session zeros. Always super important, because then you can be like if regarding because you know, different play styles, it could be anything. If they're like bickering with each other, things like that, and that's something you addressed in session zero, you can be like, hey, remember, we're a team, we all agreed to it on day one. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we talked about that, you know. So there's lots of different things you can do, but session zero would be the best way, I would say, to prepare for that kind of thing as a DM. But that wasn't the question. It was something else, wasn't it?
No, you covered it very well. Setting expectations early on as to working as a team at the table, and kind of putting your foot down as a GM, because you're there to make sure that everybody is enjoying their experience, not just individual players, but the team as a whole. And because you mentioned session zero, that is a great segue into the next question, which is, what do you cover in your session zero sessions? Go on down the line for those who have been, and it'll definitely be informative for the people who have not had their first session zero yet. So, Thor?
Oh, okay. So D&D in a Castle even has a sort of a format for this, where they have a couple of things they want to make sure you go over, so everyone feels safe and included, and that these expectations are met. Really quickly, back to the other question, D&D in a Castle does a really good job sort of pre-warming people up to what to expect, because the whole when you select your DM and all that sort of stuff, that whole process has videos from all of us presenting our campaigns and a little bit about ourselves and all that stuff. So when you've chosen that DM, you sort of you know what to expect already. And then session zero, we reiterate that, we go over anything that would matter to people, like pronouns or touchy subjects or any of that stuff. And of course, that's smart. Something I should do more of my own games, really. But yeah, I don't. Now I also, like Beth, forget what the question was.
the session zero. What do you
include in your session zero?
Yes.
For example, I know that Travis and I are co-DMs, so we include a lot of player creation that maybe hasn't happened before. We go over our trigger warning checklists again.
That we're like, okay, we want to make sure you're really comfortable with this, because it's going to be spooky and we're going to a haunted house together. We want to make sure that everyone has fun in the haunted house. When you say you don't like fingernails, let's get into some really details that are gruesome. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. That's not okay. None of that. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. No chalkboard.
Using session zero to, first of all, introduce yourselves to your players, introduce your players to each other, introduce characters so that you can just hit the ground running when you get into session one. And some people that I know, some other DMs, maybe you guys have as well, but use session zero as a little bit of extra playtime because they have everything set out ahead of time. Does anybody else have any session zero things they'd like to touch on?
Yes.
Ted or Beth?
And yeah, Ted.
All right, Ted.
So one of the things that I've learned over the many years of gaming is, in order to get the game rolling, a lot of times we have struggled with let's get the party together, and especially at something like D&D in a Castle, unless like everybody that epic, here is how everything is assembled. You want to get everybody playing. You want to start with the action. So I like to actually see, well, you literally ask the players, well, how do you know each other? How are they connected? So getting that done in a session zero allows you to, when you're ready to start session one, you can start, with something happening. And you don't have to have everything figured out, but the more pieces of this puzzle that you have put together is going to allow for, more of that to be easier and take some of the burden off the GM. Kind of dovetailed to that, D&D in a Castle has the tavern, so DMs and players can kind of talk in advance to the castle. So even some of that can already be figured out before you even get to session 0, if you've got a group that is talking and communicating. But beyond that, you've already mentioned all of the safety tools and conflict resolution. Like, all of that needs to be there so that when there is conflict at the table, you have a guideline of how to get that resolved and how to easily get back to the game and get back to this premier vacation that is D&D in a castle, as opposed to two possible people from butting heads. It detracts from the fun on everybody.
And just to clarify, the digital tavern it's like a forum, I'm explaining internet to people. It is an internet place where people go to chat and communicate, similar to Discord, but for D&D Castle, and it's actually really cool. You can do all the things that you can do when communicating, and it's very easy. It makes it very simple to.
Yeah, a lot of the traditional session 0 stuff we've already resolved through chat. Usually, like character creation, all that stuff we've generally done before people show up. So, like Ted was saying, one of the first things we do in the sessions is have everyone sort of feel, if they don't already, it's definitely how do you know each other, and any specifics to that now from the forums, etc. Which is great. That's a really good tool because you have 2 months, a month. How soon do we start talking to them? Really, I forget.
I think it's like
at
2 months.
least a month out. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
We get some time, and then we have a question. So, what made you want to come to D&D in a Castle? He asked Aoife.
Sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to play more D&D. I just was itching to get to play more, because I'm sure the rest of you, sometimes unless you have a really good reason, it's really hard to wrangle people into a weekly time slot or even a monthly time slot sometimes, because life just gets in the way. And this way, I figure they're locked in a castle. They can't leave. They're at my mercy. So yeah, I'm just so excited to just be completely immersed in that world for just a really epic weekend. Also, I wanted to add on to the previous question as well. Just another thing that I think is really important for session 0. So obviously lines and veils, of course. But for me as well, it's a chance to sort of get a sense of your player chemistry, because obviously, as Thor said, you'll have gone over a lot of a lot of the things that are the expectations and stuff prior to session 0, I think. But session 0 for me is just get a sense of which player is the slightly less experienced, maybe shyer person that might need a little bit of help coming out of their shell. Is there a player that's maybe going to be a little bit overbearing? How can we manage that going forwards? It's just sort of getting a taste of that so that you're prepared for the main campaign. Sorry to backpedal, but just wanted to add that in.
Those are good things. And then Jayden, we haven't heard from you yet. What are you excited about? And if you want to add any previous questions, amend, retract, retcon, and replace, go for it.
I do actually want to add on to
yes.
So what made me say yes was I technically did go to the castle, but not as a guest or a DM. Beth,
I had no idea you were DMing. You have the energy of someone who was DMing at the castle. Yeah.
No, Beth got invited, and Beth was like, if I'm going to travel, I need to bring my emotional support boyfriend. And I was like, hi. And I was just there being super energetic. And they were like, you come back. And I was like, duh, you can't stop me. But that's why I'm doing it now, because I was there with Beth and now I got a chance to do it myself. But to go on the session 0 thing, there's actually a specific way that I do that also Beth does. And Beth kind of forgets she does this, but it's a great, I call it a session 0.1 and a 0.2. So after you've done your session 0, but at the start of session 1, you actually role play a flashback sequence that has happened prior to them coming together. If you're already a party, you're kind of like, you remember doing this thing, trying to get a manticore out of a tree. And then you go through initiative of have them go through the process of working together to get the manticore out of the tree. You go through 1 round of that, maybe 2 rounds of them doing that. And it helps you kind of see what kind of player they are, to see if they're more combat focused, explorative, are they creative, are they mechanically driven. It lets you do it in the safety of a flashback because you know that they've made it. But then I add on top of that by saying afterwards, I love that this just put me on blast like that.
It showed up on the screen. I wasn't expecting that.
After that, I do the recoup, which is, well, that was a flashback. Now you're at the bar. Now you're at your home and you're recovering from it. What are you feeling and thinking? So that way you can get the players into their emotional mindset. So you figure out how they like to do their combat or exploration or events, and then you get them in a nice little social moment. And by then they're usually at least a little more comfortable with each other, their character, and the circumstances, and the tone is even set. And it's a great way to do, instead of you meet in a bar, it's like, what did they do just before they got to the bar? Now that you're at the bar, how are you recovering from the event? What are you thinking? And it always starts off a strong role play scenario. And it gets through that weird clunky of, I don't know how to do it, because you start them off in initiative and just have fun after that. That's it.
So
for me.
you brought up different play styles and people who are a bit more combat oriented or more story driven. How is it for people who have been to the castle before when you're DMing and you're playing D&D with maybe someone who hasn't played before? How is the castle experience going to differ from learning the game at a table at home? I will call on someone.
I'll chime in.
Ted.
So all the people who have been to my personal table have been experienced. But when I was there the first time in 2019, one of the players at Doug's table was there with her son, and she had never played before. And we obviously we talk in between sessions and whatnot, so you kind of gather what's going on at everybody's table, how these players are reacting, and we had the goal of we were starting at the very beginning, like level 1 or level 2, and going all the way to level 20. So every session, characters were gaining multiple levels. So for somebody who had never played before, that was an extreme immersion into D&D, but getting a full 20 level campaign inside of 3 days, 6 sessions was really crazy. But with the usual caliber of people that you get to D&D in a castle and having experienced GMs, there's all these tips and tricks that can be done. So we had, obviously the woman was with her son and her son was experienced. So there was already somebody there to kind of help guide and follow. But if you've got somebody that isn't traveling with somebody, you can do that same kind of thing. Sit them next to somebody that they get along with, that understands the rules and can kind of be essentially like your DM's helper. If you don't already have a co-DM like you guys would have, having somebody else to kind of help and push along for somebody to answer questions while not interrupting the flow of the game, that can really keep everyone immersed and keep the game moving forward without, any of those kind of disruptions. So that's typically what we do, whether it's at the castle or, at our home table, that makes everything go well. Because I've gamed with, new people who have never played RPGs before, and I've played with people who are, more experienced than myself. So that's just, the building blocks to kind of keep things moving forward.
That's super awesome.
And you also touched on one of the great things about DMing at the castle is, you can bring a co-DM or you can co-DM, but because we're there and we have the crew of D&D in a castle there as well, we get to have the benefit of having NPC actors who come in and add to the game and get to play out individual characters. And you have, of course, the ambiance of being in the castle itself. But because this is a larger vacation experience, there's also things like the Barovian Ball, and sometimes there's archery or chess games, and additionally there's food. So you'll have food every morning, midday, and night. One of the questions is it easy to work around dietary restrictions such as gluten-free or vegan? And Travis and I are both vegan, and we ate particularly well.
I think we gained weight.
Particularly well at the castle. It's definitely it's part of the vacation for me, at least, is I don't have to cook for several days.
That's quite nice.
Dietary restrictions have not been a problem so far that we have encountered with either ourselves or with our players, who are the people we have the most conversations with. They have everything labeled food-wise regarding what you can and cannot eat, if something is vegan or contains certain types of allergens. And if you clarify ahead of time what your dietary restrictions are, then the castle and D&D the castle will most likely try very hard to accommodate you.
And there was a steady supply of tea in our
Yes.
dungeon that we played in the guards room. This lovely lightless space that replicated the lightless campaign that we played. One other question. So we flew like an hour and a half to get there because it's not far from us. But those of you who are traveling like longer from America, perhaps, or maybe even having to drive across or train across England to get there, who might be a little bit jet lagged. What is it like playing an 8-hour day of DMing with a bit of jet lag? What are your tips, tricks, or thoughts around that?
Get there a day early.
To say sleep is the only get sleep beforehand.
Yeah. The only legal tips I can give would be get there early or get there early. Yeah.
Arrive early.
Coffee. I mean, lots of coffee. There is a steady supply of energy drinks actually.
I was gonna say, I remember now that I drank like 5 energy drinks a day.
Yeah. Cameron has like several boxes of energy drinks brought in, probably partially for this purpose. Yeah.
It's good to be energized and what have you. I said it's good to be energized and what have you, and there is the drinks that are option, but like the DMs are given the option that if it's within their schedule to arrive that day early so that you can recover from that jet lag. But even then, I still had an issue where like I slept through my alarm one day, so occasionally things happen, but for the most part, it's a grand and glorious time, and the GMs are going to be able to pick their schedule. So if you're more of a night owl, you can have your sessions at night. So it's gonna be whatever fits the GM and the play style best.
And there are some. How late do some of the games run? That was one of the questions from earlier that we saw. Ours, we're sort of. I don't want to say we're not night owls. We go to bed pretty early.
We're not night owls. And additionally, we always try to ask our players, especially for people who maybe have very early flights on the last day. So we try not to run over on the last day. But I know some DMs that we were with previously have gone until the sun has risen. Personal experiences from our crowd here.
Under its gaze.
I think that very same DM is what we've all experienced. The legendary Mark Meir always has a very long final session. And I hear it's great. No one comes out of that and isn't just amazingly happy with it. So it's normally not a problem though. You generally have very specific times that people are expected to finish-ish. And then there's dinner. Like you gotta at least take a break for dinner, and then if you want to go on later, you probably can.
Yeah, I'm super impressed that Mark being able to do that. I was like, you're doing what? Like
in full costume.
In full costume. Yeah. I'm one of those DMs that's like, we're done. Okay, we'll finish what we're doing. We're done now. We go eat now. Cause like my ADHD, like it's like 4 hours a session is already pushing it. And I'm like, I got this. And I like throw it all in. I'm like, okay, it's the end of the 4 hours. We're all gonna like go hang out now. We're just gonna go chill at the library bar. So yeah, that is I'm amazed at the DMs that can go all night.
How do the players I'm throwing in a question. How do the players kind of feel about that? Like, are they like happy to go on for as long as, or are they like, they reach the end and they're pretty done?
I would say on the last round, since I was like more of a guest, I was like, if anybody wants, I'll run a one shot if people want more games. So I ran like an evening on the last day, and we went from about 7 o'clock to just shy of like 2 a.m. And at first I was like, yeah, we'll only do like a few hours. And I was like, there's so much more story we could have developed in this one shot. And they were like, I want more. I don't have to fly until 11. So as long as, and I'm like, okay, we can go till 12. And we hit 12. And I was like, all right, this part's done. They're like, is it done for sure? I'm like, all right, if everyone wants more, and everybody was more, one person was like, I think I need to sleep. And the rest of them were like, can we keep going? I was like, I can keep going. Everything's done. So we got our food and we went for several more hours, and people were like, I want to keep going. I was like, all right, we're reaching like morning time. Like if we go any further at this point, I won't be able to wake up tomorrow, right? And I was like, but like the players are almost more enthused than I think a GM usually is. It's like we reach a point where like, yeah, we've made a natural conclusion to the story and we're reaching that point. And players are like, but did you though? And we're like, all right, I'll add one more plot.
Use every last bit of juice from this.
And you're like, the bad guy's gone, the world saved. You're like, but is it? And you're like, what more do you want? You saved the world. They're like, all of it? Fine, we'll go do one more thing, and then we're done.
That's lovely.
And that's actually, you brought up the one-shots. Another question we have is, do you guys join the players in the one-shots available in the evenings? Have any of you played in a one-shot? It's not running a one-shot, played in a one-shot.
I was present for one, but I didn't play.
Yes, there you go. So how was your time being a player?
So my first session in 2019, we were there with Lisa Penrose and V Muse, and V is going to be joining us in July as a GM as opposed to a one-shot GM. But she had her one-shot that she's run many times was called BB's Place, and this was like, I think, the second day of gaming, and I definitely wanted to get in on it because the first night it was utterly hysterical. People were talking about, her one shot the following morning at breakfast, and like the laughter coming from that table was like, all right, that's something I don't want to miss out on. And something clicked, and I decided I was going to play this goblin wizard who was like a diviner, and her game was set in like a speakeasy that had like completely free form access. Whatever people wanted to do, you'd kind of uncover plots and let things happen, or just whatever happened. It wound up, having some kind of dance contest and this and that. Well, because I was a goblin, I randomly rolled a name, and his name was Vomit. So like the third day, you hear the story about the dance contest and Vomit being all over the dance floor, and you can see how more hilarity continued to ensue, from BB's Place. But it was great to have a chance to play alongside some of the players from my own table, as well as, get to meet some of the people that were at the other tables. So I love seeing like the interconnectivity happening, when you've got these one shots and different tables, and seeing how all this intercommingling is happening.
I certainly agree. One of the fun things that we saw consistently was when people finally left the chambers that they were playing their games in and went to have lunch or dinner, swapping the epic stories and trying to see if anything connected. People have done crossovers between their tables, as you were speaking about earlier with your epic battle. And I don't know if anybody has any plans for more crossovers. Do you guys enjoy doing crossovers quite often, or are you more content with having your own secluded world?
I'm down for either personally. I am looking to talk to my players. I've got 3 different pitches that I'm going to let them vote on to see what game I'm going to run come July. Since it's Dungeons and Dragons, I'm leaning heavier into the dragon aspect, but like 3 different pathways to incorporate dragon. But it'll be up to them as to what way I go. But if a GM wants to have something happen that connects in my game to their story, or vice versa, I'm down for having any of these things happen. So hit me up if that's a thought.
I do want to just add, I hope if I had it my way, we would have the most ambitious crossover since the Marvel's Avenger at the castle. Like, I'm just saying, if I had it my way, I would make all of Marvel blush at what we would do. That's it. That's my whole statement.
I want to see your game so badly.
He's got such a gravitas to it in a way. It's like, it will be the greatest thing since Marvel, and it will be Naruto 300 episodes in 24 hours, which just sounds content rich, like a good cake.
Yes. 7 tiers, multiple flavors, and it changes over the evening.
And then just to restate, the events that'll be taking place this year are at Lumley Castle. That's in northern England. It's quite lovely. And you're seeing our lovely virtual background here of a room in Lumley Castle where the dancing takes place. And again, if you're interested, it's dndinacastle.com for more information about these and more lovely DMs available. And it's vanishing quickly. So.
And there certainly are more DMs that are going to be at the tables this summer and in November. Not just the ones that are gracing us today, but if you go to the website, it's shop.dndinacastle.com. You can actually see the different rounds, which will give you the dates that are available.
Yes.
And then you can also look at which DMs will be available. What seats at their tables are still free for you to choose for your tabletop vacation. So make sure that you check those out while you still can, because like we said, there are only 9 tickets still available. Tickets? No, spots. 9 seats
like
still
musical chairs with
available.
ghosts.
At Lumley Castle in the summer round. So make sure you check that out.
Now we have a couple more questions, but I have a very important question. And if we could do it sort of rapid fire-ish for everyone, we're going to go down the line. But can you tell us about your personal projects? Because I'm deeply curious about what you're working on. Let's start with Eva.
On the spot.
Muted again. So I've got a ton of stuff on that I actually can't talk about right now.
Okay.
But like so if you follow me on social media, you will hear about it all in good time. But I've got some D&D projects coming up. I've got some games related stuff coming up. I'm actually doing a thing like literally just before D&D in a Castle in July, so I'll be flying into Lumley Castle from Italy, from Florence, which is really exciting. But yeah, I guess just stay tuned to my social media. I've just done the BAFTA Game Awards, so there's still a ton of content coming out about that. But yeah, please look forward to more.
Awesome.
All right, Jayden.
So I'm gonna partially touch on the fact that me and Beth, the Kickstarter for Frankenstein 5e, our Daughter of Frankenstein, it is a dark opera where you get to explore our inspirations of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, as well as like Jack the Ripper, and some things like Attack on Titan are also used for the inspiration of this amazing narrative 5e campaign where you get to explore the legacy of Dr. Frankenstein and what his daughter has then done with it. And it's a beautiful opera with twists and turns and mystery elements, and as well as my own Deep Breath stuff that is my anime-inspired 5e content, where I just build classes, subclasses, spells, equipments, and all these things. And I run a bunch of sessions to explore the anime style of D&D with extra epic things to make that all work. I actually don't have much more of that other than Beth and I are starting our Bard House Publishing to build up our ability to make diverse gaming for women and people of color in the ministry, to really establish our interest, our love of both anime and classic movies and classic horror, to build stories that are more narrative and have representation of people that look, sound, act, and live more like us.
Beth, did you want to append to that?
Oh God.
No.
We're doing that. I'm doing that. We're supposed to be talking about what we're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
My ADHD
What is your
kicked in.
personal projects currently that I had
Personal
related?
projects. Okay, cool. Daughter of Frankenstein, Frankenstein5e.com is the current really big project. I've already started also working on the next project because I am I'm addicted to story. And it's actually what I'm going to be running for the castle too. It is a folk horror, dark fairy tale inspired setting as well. Name to be determined. I'll probably have like my table at the castle pick the name for the next book or something. So that as well. I've got the next edition of She's the Ancient coming out soon, so it'll finally be available in hardcover. And then the Bard House media stuff, just getting lots of community projects going, like a community zine. People can come in and publish their own work and start building their own portfolios through little quick projects we're going to be putting out. And I feel like that's it right now. Oh God, wait, hold on, one more. TTRPG University. I forgot I launched a website that teaches people all about D&D and other TTRPG stuff. And there's courses on like how to like get to professional level game mastering and things like that. First one launches this Friday. And now that's officially everything I'm working on. Somebody else.
Awesome. Thor, you're up.
Cool. Well, I touched on it briefly in the intro. I have a board game that is cannot talk about status for just a couple more weeks, but it's an officially licensed D&D thing, so that's very exciting. As far as acting goes, there's a movie that Zack Snyder shot last year that I'm in called Rebel Moon that comes out on Netflix in December. It's their sort of big tentpole sci-fi, fantasy, huge universe, new thing they're doing that I'm obviously extremely excited to be part of, and also cannot talk about other than that. So I have a part in there somewhere.
Fantastic. And Ted, what can you talk about?
So nerdarchy.com is where you can find our website. There's a store over there with lots of digital products that we've made over the years. You can also find the aforementioned quick start rules and playbooks for the zoomafia.com or for the Zoom Mafia game. And if you want to stay up to date on that particular rule set, we do have a rarely used newsletter that you can get access to at zoommafiarpg.com. And find your own way to getting into a Zoom Mafia RPG game.
All right. Oh, who are we?
And we're working on some stuff. We are close to publishing some books, but we can't talk about where, how. Keeping with the theme.
Yes. Yeah.
We can say that we're publishing them. We're going to try and print them, and we're excited to print some of our scary stories in a compilation book that we will tell you guys about more later at some point. But we think it's happening, which is super exciting. Later this year. And yes, Kaitlin.
All right. Then my last very quick question is, in a sentence or even just a few words, please describe your experience. What do you feel when you think about D&D in a castle? Let's go with Ted first.
It's an amazing experience. If you haven't had a chance to check out D&D in a castle, highly recommend it because it's just amazing.
All right. Beth.
Vacation. I get to go be an adult with adult friends playing D&D for a few days instead of having to be a mom 24 seconds of the day. So yeah, wonderful vacation time. That's what I think.
Aoife.
Hasn't been yet.
Oh yeah, I'm terrible. I'm sorry.
Muted again. I don't know. I'm really excited to find out. Again, like kind of the same as Beth. I'm excited to have a vacation from being a mom and just playing in a castle with some really cool people.
Jayden. I haven't been yet, but as a DM, but
go beyond playing the fantasy and experience living the fantasy.
Ooh, I like
Hashtag not sponsored.
Thor.
It is absolutely a once in a lifetime setup, playing D&D there with those people, and everyone is doing it not 24/7 but close, and everyone there is just so excited to be there. The energy is hard to describe. That's that.
You want to go?
Friendship and adventure and terror, all of these things, and just so much fun. I look forward to it in the most unique setting, playing Dungeons & Dragons in a castle, in a dungeon for us usually.
Yes.
It's amazing.
I'm just going to say immersive. You get to immerse yourself in the game, immerse yourself in the location. And for those who are mothers or parents, you don't have to think about the rest of the world for just a little bit of time. But thank you everyone who has come, and thank you our amazing DMs for answering our questions and sharing some of the excitement and love for this event. We have a lot more in store, I think, for D&D in a Castle coming. So lots of great DMs and stories to be told. Thank you all so much, and farewell for now.
Farewell for now.